Okay, let's talk a little bit on lip syncing. First, you need to import your audio. So I have an audio file, test.wav file. Go and click and drag it down to a slider. Okay, so now you can see the sound waveform in the bottom, and you can scrub, you can play it, it'll have it.
This is a test.
And another cool thing is, now that you have the audio file below, you can actually scrub through it, and you can kind of hear your voice or something in slow motion, which might help align visings. So, okay, so first step you need to do, you need to take your word and you need to break it into consonants and vowels like I have mentioned last week. So, the phrase, this is a test. Okay, let's break this down into actual consonant and vowel noises. TH, so you start with a TH, like a duh, is. So, maybe like this is can be a single viseme, A is a single viseme, and TE, test. So, TES could be one phoneme, and T can be another phoneme. If you need help, it helps to read aloud your voice out loud, so you have an idea when your mouth opens to make a noise, and when your mouth closes to, make the T or yes noise, essentially. So, this is a test. So, okay, right? Yep.
So how detailed should this like? I mean, for example, if you break it really down to the code, really some like long sentences have to be really hard to maneuver.
Yeah, especially if you have very fast sentences. I mean, that's a good question. In that case, the format I have done right now will be useful in initially placing where all the visings go. But if you have a character that speaks very fast, or you have very long words like trigonometry or education or some long word like that, you may realize that you might want to end up cutting some visings during the animation, or your character's lips are going to open and close way too much, and it will look off if that's the case. So, it's really based on, you kind of have to use your own judgment after you place all of the visings, in case, if you feel that the mouth is opening and closing on literally every single syllable, and your character is speaking very quickly, then that's when you need to tone down the visings, or just eliminate it altogether if he's speaking through that vising way too quickly. So you will have to make some compromise. You will have to use your own judgment to make some compromises if you decide to use a difficult voice line where your character speaks either very quickly or just long words in general. But no, that's a legit situation. But for now, I'm worried about just the word "this" because we have like 10 minutes and this is probably all we can do. So, okay, so my Malcolm, my Malcolm actually doesn't have sliders for the viseme, so I apologize. But then again, this is for a different purpose, so. Okay, so let's use, so first I need to make according to the description right here, I have is. So I have T as a single syllable, and then I have an I phoneme, and then an S phoneme. So let's take the TH phoneme first. Okay, I have like a T vising right here. So let's start maybe like, let's maybe crunch this down from maybe frame 20. Let's start this from frame 20 to frame 30. Okay, maybe like this. That makes it. Let's increase the range to 35. Okay, yeah, this is good. So yeah, you can kind of hear the TH noise happens around frame 23 to 24 because that's when you're about to speak the word. And you can kind of see it in the waveform pattern where it goes from empty to you begin to say a word. So So let's say at frame 24, let's activate our T-vising. And then let's start it at 20 to, okay, so 20 to 24. Oh, and if you need to actually view the graph editor, I would recommend doing this. Go to animation editor, graph editor, and if you click on Malcolm, then you will notice how the blend shape T-vising actually has, a graph on the graph editor, so you can see when it begins and when it ends, essentially, on the graph editor. So as you can see, it starts at frame 20 and it increases to frame 24. So, okay, now we need to make the I, because now we have the T in place. Now we need to make the I consonant noise. Oh, you have a question?
You are going to get that shape. So what about, like, for example, if you are going to animate a character, your key, for example, the controller.
Oh, then you just key the translation of the controller. So you just hit the controller, and then you just hit S or key to translation.
Okay.
But for me, I mean, I don't have controllers that have just this, so
They are basically the same.
Functionally, it's identical. It's just that it's cleaner to have sliders, but in my case, I don't have sliders, so I'm just keyframing on the shape editor directly. Okay, so now at around frame 26 is where you make the I viseme. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trigger the viseme at IH to be at 1. At frame 24, let's set this to be 0. And at frame 26, let's turn off the T vising because we already spoke in the T sound. We no longer need the T sound. So now if you take a look at the graph editor, I mean, you can even see the pattern. You can see how the first curve, this is the T curve, this is the I curve, and you can kind of see how the T curve starts to deactivate, but the I curve starts to activate in place of the T curve. So you're transitioning from the T noise to the I noise. So, and you can kind of hear the S noise kind of starts at 27, but it's around 28 where the S noise peak. So what I'm going to do is, well, I have an SH viseme, so I'm just going to use that. Hopefully it'll be similar to the S noise. So what I'm going to do is, let's activate the T viseme. Let's deactivate the IH viseme. And then let's say at frame 26, let's set the starting point for the SH viseme. Okay, so now if you go back to the graph editor, you can kind of see the SH viseme in comparison to all the viseme. So now you're making the I noise, and here's the S noise. You're transitioning from, you can see, as the I noise begins to end, the S curve begins to pick up. So the I viseme starts to dip while the S viseme starts to pick up. And then the S vising finally stops making the noise, let's say, right when the word ends. So that's like frame 35, because you can even see it in the sound pattern, there's no more sound being made. Or let's say frame 34. Let's say frame 44. Okay, so let's go back to our shape editor. Let's go to frame 34. Let's keyframe. So now we have the whole pattern. We have the T, the T peak right here, the I peak, and then the S, which starts and then trails off because the word is ending. Let's see how it looks. So
let's disable. Let's hide these. This. So you can kind of see how you start with the consonant, and then you're transitioning into the vowel, and then you are closing your mouth because you are finishing the word.
And then you rinse, repeat, and do this for every other word in the sentence. So, yeah, that's lip sync in a nutshell.
If you need to tweak frames, though, like, for example, I think the I noise could come maybe one frame later, maybe, because I think the I vising seems to come a bit early. Like, I think so. Let's take a look. This. Yeah, let's try delaying the I vising by one frame. I mean, in order to do it, you just go to the graph editor, and okay, so graph editor, make sure the head is selected, and then I'm going to go to the I vising, and let's maybe just drag this all by one frame. So okay, so yeah, I selected all the nodes, and then I'm just gonna shift and middle click and just drag it, nudge it one nudge to the right. That'll delay it by one frame, and now let's take a look. This. Okay, that actually works worse. But either way, I'm just showing this is how you essentially, if you want to tweak which frame the vising happens, you just go to the graph editor, find the corresponding curve that responds to the vising being produced at the moment, and then just click and highlight, and then just drag it around in the graph editor. So now I reset it back to normal, and now this. It's not too bad. Okay, any questions?
You think you can finish lab 2 from now?
Okay, well, just in case, a recording of what I just did will be made available on my YouTube.